This is going to be a really hard video to talk about. I want to look at everything as objectively as possible. It's really hard not to be emotional about it, especially since this is kind of something that I feel like I've seen coming for a long time. And it just sucks to see. It's not good for anybody. Not good for the casuals, the hardcore, the new players, for Bungie. And I feel like videos like this, I didn't want to put it out because I feel like the constant cycle of negative emotion is not healthy, especially since you guys know how critical I am of the game and I try to voice my opinion as straightforward as possible without sugarcoating it. I don't really care if feelings get hurt in the process. I'm not trying to attack anybody personally. I think anybody with common sense can realize that. But I'm genuinely concerned with the direction that Destiny 2 is heading. Not only for myself, but for everybody else in the community and for Bungie. And it's really, man, it's really frustrating because people are constantly asking me my opinions on, oh, what do you think they could change? What are you looking for next season? What are you looking for in Lightfall? All these different questions that ask me what I think about the game. And I understand where people are coming from. Whatever I say is obviously not like the number one solution that's going to fix everything. But I am someone who has played this game since the Destiny 1 beta, which is way back in July 2014. I've continued to play this game and have been degenerately grinding it since then. There's only 2 times that I've ever taken a break. The first of which was House of Wolves. I'm going to be honest, I do not really remember the reason why I took a break then, but I remember just taking like a 3-month break in high school and I just didn't really play that much. Second of which, Curse of Osiris. And that one's kind of, man, looking back on it, I'm glad I took a break, but at the same time, I wish I would have grinded more because it was a great opportunity for growth. As a content creator, your best opportunities are when nobody else is making content, even if the game sucks. Especially if people like it, right? Because Bungie has such a huge community of people that have enjoyed their games since the early 2000s, if not before that. But obviously they're most known for creating Halo, which is now owned by 343, for those who don't know. And it's just it's really hard to see the constant ride and the ebbs and flows of the game where it does really well and then it declines and it feels like it always when it declines, it gets to a point where reasonable action isn't taken until the numbers are too low to the point where it's not meeting their business quota. And again, I don't know the internal workings of the company. They've been private until more recently when they got acquired by Sony for $3.6 billion. Mind-blowing number. And it's really funny to me as well because people have always called Destiny or not Destiny, but Bungie a small indie dev company. Whether people think it's a meme or not, I don't think people realize how much money that they make off of the game. Bungie has made an ungodly amount of money off of Destiny 2, and a lot of it, I don't know if a lot of it, I don't know what percentage, but obviously a good amount of that probably gets reinvested into making the game better. But then again, those are the internal workings of the business that we'll probably never know. Right now, as it stands, Destiny 2 is in the worst position that it's ever been as far as player numbers go. And this is concerning for a few reasons. First of which is that they've had a huge push to try and get more people into the game by making it free to play. What I like to call free to try. They like to label it as free to play because it's better marketing. And that is very evident through the videos that I've made. I've looked through all these different comments. Here, did I close the video? 4 months ago, I put out a video. Is Destiny 2 free to play worth playing in 2022? I also did this about a year prior in 2021. I just made a new account, went through the New Light experience to see how it is from a veteran perspective, per se. And a lot of the comments, some were good and some were bad, but it was mostly about what they can improve about the New Light experience. And I do remember, I don't know if the comment got removed or what, I just remember seeing this comment one time that literally just said, no, it's not. And it was damn. And a lot of the feedback that you'll see in this comments is like, yes, it was worth it when they didn't get rid of all the old DLCs that they gotten rid of, like the Red War and everything back then that's not currently in the game. So with such a big emphasis on the New Light experience and pushing that to try and get new players in, you would think they would also focus on player retention, which does not seem to be the case. To be completely clear, I don't have any problem with a free-to-play model trying to bring people in, but there needs to be a reason for people to stay without neglecting the people that have been supporting your games for years. And this clip I thought was absolutely mind-blowing because they had already talked about how they had 1 million pre-orders for Witch Queen last year, which is insane. But this will blow your mind.
Friends, and make new ones. And since last year, over 5 million new Guardians have joined our ranks.
5 million new players have joined the game since last year. And now let me show you something that is even crazier. So these are the numbers dating all the way back to Shadowkeep. Unfortunately, it doesn't go back further, but this is when Destiny moved to Steam and moved away from the Blizzard launcher when they split with Activision. These are the average monthly players leading all the way up until today. These are the worst numbers I have ever seen from the game, ever. I wish I could go back and see what the numbers were for Curse of Osiris, because that is like the most well-known like drought period in Destiny where things were at their lowest, and then Bungie came out with a State of the Game article saying, okay, we're going to turn things around, which they did, because then they came out with the Warmind DLC, which was banger, and then Forsaken followed after that, and that was the most mind-blowing experience ever. And now you're probably going to say, or thinking to yourself, well, Sweat, that's just PC. What about console? Because console carries the population numbers. And I would normally agree, but it doesn't seem to show that recently. So here's another website, Charlemagne. And it shows the population percentages between platforms. And as you can see, this is within the past 3 hours, Steam is 33% of the game's population. So if you want to take easy maths times 3, about 40,000 people playing, or 41,000, there's about 123,000 people playing as of an hour ago. 24-hour peak. It's the numbers have just been like, honestly, the lowest I have ever seen, and I don't understand how that's possible. If you're gonna go out and brag about having 5 million new Guardians join the rank, none of them are staying. That's the issue. Everybody's getting neglected in this situation in an attempt to try and raise those numbers to sell it to investors, which doesn't make any sense to me because Bungie is now owned by Sony. They got bought out for $3.6 billion. Where is the funding going? Even with peak players considered, this is like the craziest thing I've ever seen. This is the lowest peak count ever. And not only recently did we have Destiny 2, not in the past 30 days, but within this season, Destiny 2 was free to play on all platforms for a week where you could play all DLCs. They give you the 30th anniversary for free while launching on the Epic Game Store. They did a collaboration with Fortnite. And what was the other big thing that I'm forgetting? Obviously, being free to play helps. We had the whole Telesto event go on, and then we had a community event in which we donated captain's coins to Spider, and we built a $40 million staircase. I don't know how to make it any more clear or more evident that these so-called like events, if you want to call them that, are not what the players are looking for. And I think the part that is most frustrating about what the players are actually looking for versus what Bungie understands / will do for the game is that every time players express frustration for like, let's just take the Telesto community event for example, is that players weren't happy about it. Players have been on edge waiting for a community puzzle or a community event for a very long time. People were so on edge that literally as soon as the Telesto thing happened, they immediately took it as a puzzle and started going crazy with it, thinking there are constellations when you shoot the weapon and all this other crazy stuff. So not only are the population numbers the lowest that they've basically ever been, at least as far as we know, since what I'm guessing was Curse of Osiris, but the overall morale for the game is at an all-time low as well as views. I'm not trying to make this into a poor me thing, but as long as I've been around in this space, it's very evident to me to tell how interested people are in the game, either through like the Twitch directory for Destiny 2 or YouTube views on like a particular style of video for Destiny. It's just very easy to tell when people are interested in the game and not interested. But I've never seen the players this frustrated. Literally, when I hop on Destiny 2 on stream nowadays, people come to chat and they're like, "Why the fuck are you playing this game?" And that's never been that bad. We've always gone through dry periods, and that's going to be natural because it is physically not possible for Bungie to make enough content for us to play every single day. I think there is a sustainable system, in my opinion, that could keep the cycle of players having something to do even when things are dry, but that doesn't necessarily involve a constant cycle of new content flowing through. But now the lack of new content coming through has gotten to the point where every single core system in the game feels dry. Whether it's old weapons being recycled for loot, the average strike age, if you took any strike, pulled that out of a hat, is like an average of 5 years old. Same for PvP maps. Nobody gives a fuck about Gambit. And it's incredibly frustrating to see all the systems continue to just decline. Because the other thing, and why I have expressed in the past before that I think it would be healthiest for Bungie to develop Destiny 3, is that it's a constant game of juggling. They can sit and balance the weapon sandbox, but at the same time that might cause another area of the game to break. And then when they go fix this, two other things break. And it's a constant juggling act that I don't think is physically possible for them to manage to get to a point where it is like everything is just fine and there's calm and there's silence for like 5 minutes. Because the more things that you put in the game, the more things you have to balance. And that is especially true with exotics. And why I think sunsetting is very important is because people get overly attached to weapons. And it's very cool to have a memory associated with a particular weapon or item in the game, but I don't think weapons are the way to do it necessarily. Another thing that is incredibly confusing to me, and I'm going to call out Bungie for this, is that there was a big dilemma when Bungie split from Activision talking about how they were being overworked and pushed to meet these deadlines that weren't like physically possible. With Activision, Destiny had some of the best and most memorable content that people talk about to this day. And I think Activision, we all know, is kind of a shit company because of all the side drama that went on with that. You can go do your own research on that if you so choose. But they knew how to make a game. Activision knows how to make a game enjoyable. So Bungie come out and saying, oh, they're pushing us to all these deadlines, is incredibly hypocritical because since Bungie has left Activision, they have continued basically the same cycle. 4 seasons per year and one big expansion. Shadowkeep got pushed back like a month, and then it went from October to February for Witch Queen, but it's still basically on a yearly cycle. 4 seasons a year, trying to still meet those so-called unrealistic expectations, which in turn you might be like, okay, well, they're probably just working less hours to get these seasons done. But it doesn't really make sense from a business perspective. Why would you continue to push 4 seasons a year if it was being so damaging to your company and your workers as a whole, if it's not for the sake of being the most profitable? Because it's very obvious that the more time you put into something, the better quality it is, the more people are probably going to enjoy it. So even if they went from 4 to 3 seasons a year, try that out. I definitely think we would see the overall quality of seasons improve. So I genuinely can't understand how that argument was made and saying, oh, Activision did this, that, when we're still meeting the same deadlines, but maybe with just less content. And less content leads to worse seasons, which means people get burnt out faster. And you're keeping the players on a habitual cycle of expecting new content like every 3 to 4 months. And I think that's the most like, I think that's one of the biggest problems with the whole system is that you're keeping, because it's all about like, you're like training your players to expect something. And when they expect new content every 3 to 4 months or a new season that consists of X and X new content, that is the unrealistic game that they cannot keep up with. They could sit and make new content all day, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to balance everything else that needs help. The core systems need help more than anything at this current moment. I'm not going to go too far into the core systems because that could be a 2 hour long video in itself, but strikes, PvP, Gambit, especially like airborne effectiveness, probably one of the worst PvP changes I've ever seen in any PvP game I've ever played in my life. Save that for a different video. Now the question is, why is the system the way it is? And I didn't want to believe this conclusion when I first thought about it or heard about it, but I've come to the realization that I feel like Bungie's eggs, aka basically their cash flow, is being, or their resources, their developer resources, are being put more towards their new projects than they are with Destiny. It doesn't make any sense because Destiny is their main breadwinner and they don't really have anything else that brings in like a crazy amount of income other than being bought out by Sony. But the general lack of innovation for Destiny 2 in the past, I would say, year or so has really made me realize that I genuinely think they are putting way more effort into their new games than they are Destiny. And for those who don't know, the leaks were that they're making a Marathon remake. Marathon was a game that they made literally back in like their OG days. Don't really know what they're doing with that yet. And then there's supposed to be that Matter project that was announced around Forsaken time. So that was over 4 years ago at this point. So it's probably getting way better into the developer cycle. And we can obviously tell that too, because if you go to the Bungie job listings on their website, they have a bunch of listings, and it's been getting increasingly more and more and more for these different positions for an unannounced project. But cycling back, the whole reason I'm upset about the eggs being in the basket for other games is that it's not really being straightforward with the players. And when we get something like the Telesto community event and players aren't that excited about it, it's a constant backpedal game from Bungie to say, oh, this is why we can't do this. Oh, we only had this much time to do this, so this is why we did it. Okay, well, if you had the implication that people weren't going to like it, and again, I don't want to shit on them for trying something new. I'm all aboard trying something new, but it generally feels like they had a sense that this wasn't probably going to go over too well with the community. Why not put more resources into building something that can come out later that is of bigger substance? It doesn't really make any sense. And that's not the only time excuses have been used. We haven't had a real like new secret mission in over a couple years at this point. People have been asking for like the next Outbreak mission. You could call the Dead Man's Tale one a secret mission. It wasn't really secret, but it was still a good mission. And the thing we were told about that way back when was that Eververse was being used to fund projects like that. Where is that gone? Another thing I've never seen before is when we're in this, what I like to call the Bungie cycle, there's a certain like cyclical nature of how like the Destiny ebbs and flows throughout the year. Is like when the expansion comes out, everybody's excited. And then the first season comes out of the year, everybody's still like, woo, this is fun. And then we get about halfway through the year, and then we start noticing some bad sandbox changes, and people are like, ooh, that's not good. When's that getting fixed? And then we get to quarter 3, and it's like, okay, when the hell are you fixing this? Hurry it up. And then like a couple months before every expansion, it gets to the point where there's a lot of frustration. People are like, oh, I'm quitting the game. I'm never coming back, blah, 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 blah. And then we see those people back on the new expansion launch. And that continues to go in a cycle. I've noticed that basically is the same sentiment every single year. But never have I ever seen people start to refund their expansion pre-orders. I've seen an ungodly amount of people, not only like in the comments, but also in my Twitch chat, that said they are either threatening to or have already refunded their Lightfall pre-order. And that is a big red flag, that people are finally getting tired of the lack of innovation and honestly what feels like general not, I don't want to say effort, because I know they try. They try their best to try and meet the desires of I don't know like who they try to appeal to the most. It feels like the new players, because that's all they like to brag about is their new player population. But I genuinely like I can see the passion behind a lot of the people that work at Bungie, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the higher ups want the best for everybody involved, including the devs and the players. It's a business at the end of the day. They have to make money, they have families to feed. That's fine. But I think a lot of people are frustrated because there's a lack of a give and take there, where you're producing the best possible product while also making a good amount of money. It seems more about the money and the numbers of new players to impress Sony or whoever, instead of trying to meet in the middle and everybody wins type of thing. And now to talk about like my own more personal forward looking for this whole thing. To make it very clear, I'm not quitting the game and I still really want to cover and play this as much as possible, but you guys have obviously noticed like a lack of uploads for a couple reasons. First of which is I want to do, well, let me rewind. First of which is because there's been a lack of stuff to do. So that has kind of forced me into a state where I've been more enjoying trying to work on like bigger videos that have like a lot more effort put into them instead of posting more frequently. There used to be a meta where I would just, if you guys have been here for a while, you used to remember basically every day back in Beyond Light, I would upload once daily. And the videos would go kind of crazy. Everybody loved watching the game. No matter how good or bad it was at a particular time, videos would get between like 1 to 200,000 views, if not more. Especially the Destiny 1 videos. That's another thing I've realized is people enjoy watching Destiny 1 still to this day more than watching Destiny 2. Not that Destiny 2 isn't fun to play, but people enjoy watching the game more in Destiny 1. Which is, I think it indicates a few things, but those aren't really important to what I'm talking about. So for the future of me, I'm going to continue to cover and play the game because I love it to death, and I want the best for the game. I don't mean any ill intent with any of the things that I've discussed, but I'm 99% sure the things that I've said here are based behind numbers and facts, and a lot of people can agree on what I'm saying here. And I know there will be people that continue to defend Bungie saying they're doing nothing wrong. That's fine. The other thing I forgot to mention is that it's very different how players view it. A lot of people are finally on the same page on where the game is at, but that's not necessarily everybody. And I like to look at this a few different ways. There are like 3 different player groups that I keep in mind when I think about Destiny 2. There's the hardcores, there's like the casuals, and the new players. If you're a new player to Destiny 2, it's going to be fun. You're going to have a good time. That doesn't mean you're going to stay around. I don't really know how long a new player stays around for before they decide to leave, or what particularly makes them leave. That's something I'm trying to understand. The casuals always come around for the most part, unless there's another big game out. Like if Elden Ring comes out, they'll go away for a while, then come back, try Destiny for a week, and then leave again. And then there's the hardcores, the people degenerately like myself who have enjoyed playing the game every day, or as much as they possibly can. But those people obviously are going to be the most frustrated with the current system because it doesn't appeal to them as much. And trying to balance between the 3 is also a very difficult task, but so not only for myself, but like other content creators included, I've had many people come to me saying that they're frustrated with the game, and like they're scared. They're genuinely scared that they're not going to be able to do it anymore. And it's truly sad to see because Destiny really does have like a really unique and strong community. But people that have been around longer than I have, I've never seen them be more frustrated or want to leave more. And I expressed my concern with this 2 years ago. December 4th, 2020, back when I was a little bit more chubby. Destiny 2 is not sustainable for content creators anymore. I saw this moving like a slow like it was a slow motion train wreck. Like I could see this coming from a mile away based on how they treated the core systems of the game. I didn't go into as much detail as I probably would have liked to here, but just a general sense. And it seemed to me that this is one of the most liked videos on my channel. A lot of people agreed, and they understood where I'm coming from. I don't know what the future holds. I really don't. And I know a lot of people have subscribed to me not basically. I know a lot of people have subscribed to me particularly for Destiny content, and that's okay. I have no bad feelings towards anybody who would never want to watch me again if I just went and did something else. But it is in my best interest to be trying other things from here forward when Destiny is dry. I'm not going to continue to make something out of nothing. It's fun every once in a while, but I just genuinely don't see the longevity in it with its current state. That doesn't mean that that can't change, but for the health of not only myself but like my future, it's not smart to continue to like sit here and try and give feedback on the game when nobody wants to listen, you know? And again, to make it very clear, I don't think my solutions are the one all be all to fix the game or whatever you want to call it. But it's just hard to see the thing that you have put literally years of passion and hard work into continue to decline and not be frustrated or like panic about it, you know? Because this is my livelihood. I do Twitch and YouTube for a living. And I have no intent of stopping. I love my job and I want to continue to do it. I've been putting a lot of thought the past few months into like what kind of stuff I could do outside of Destiny. You guys have seen a little bit of variety here and there, whether it's other games or IRL stuff. Those are like the paths that I want to take, maybe a mix of both. And yeah, I don't really know what the future holds, to be completely honest. I want to continue to remain optimistic about the future, but as far as it stands, and this has been the case for probably about a year and a half, 2 years now, I just kind of sit in the middle. I hope Lightfall is good, but I don't want to overhype myself into like believing a false narrative. Because in my head, I know the content will probably be drier after a month, and I hope that's not correct. But that is the realistic scenario that I've seen play out in years prior and will probably continue to happen. I have one favor to ask of you guys. I know a lot of you, if not all of you watching this, are Destiny fans. I really want to know what other games you guys enjoy watching. I would like to grow my channel outside of Destiny. I'm very interested to see if there are any other mutual games that a lot of Destiny viewers also enjoy watching. So you can leave a list of them down below, or just let me know like what general content do you guys think I would be best suited for, because it's been a lot of self-learning recently to try and figure out what I'm good at, what I like personally, and to try and find something that will be sustainable for the future.